so to see if we have any attendees who wanted to observe and or participate with public comment.
Okay, we are recording.
Great.
And
okay, it's just after 2 p.m. on Thursday, February 11th. This is a meeting of the Executive Director Search Committee of the State Bar of California. We are starting an open session and will then proceed to closed session. Mr. Mazur, if you could get us going with a roll call, please.
certainly. Duran?
Present.
Soul?
Present.
All members present.
Thank you, Mr. Mazur. This is a special meeting with one agenda item, as you will see, in open session and one in closed session. For the open session, we have a designated opportunity for the public to comment. If there's any member of the public that would like to comment on the agenda item, please identify yourself by using the raise hand button in Zoom. Staff will then call on you in order, and if you could limit your comments to 3 minutes, we would certainly be appreciative of that. Do we have anybody who has indicated a willingness or desire?
We do not have anyone indicating desire to make public comment.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the chair's oral report, which would be me. I don't have anything substantive to report other than to say that this is the first meeting of a special committee that the Board of Trustees has delegated the task of working on the executive director recruitment and search, as reported out at our last regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Our business agenda item as one item designated as section item 3A, discussion regarding selection of the executive director search firm. So as background, as I started to mention, on January 22nd in open session, and without waiving the confidentiality of the prior closed session, the Board of Trustees disclosed its approval of the following resolution. And I quote, "Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees delegates to Trustees Duran and Sowell the development and implementation of a plan for the immediate recruitment of a State Bar Executive Director and the return of proposed candidates to the board for consideration." And so that's really what brings us here today, Mr. Sowell and myself. Today is the first meeting of that committee, carrying out the charge as set forth in the board's January 22nd resolution. Staff has proposed to the search committee that we retain Bob Murray and Associates as the executive search firm to conduct the executive director recruitment. The company, Bob Murray and Associates, has submitted a proposal to the State Bar, which has been included with our publicly posted agenda item materials. That proposal describes the firm's proposed process as well as the recommended timeline for conducting the recruitment. The State Bar's Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Steve Mazur, is present to answer any questions the committee may have about the search firm or its proposal. With that, Mr. Sowell, I'll let you let us know, or let Steve know if you have any questions about the proposal.
Steve, I do have just a couple of questions. In glancing through the proposal, a couple of things sort of stood out. Upon taking action, I guess I'm just wondering when, from a timetable standpoint, we know we're operating under a more expedited timetable. When does, just because I wasn't thinking dates, they said week 1 begins here, and then I think we're going to week 10. What's the span of that?
Theoretically, week 1 could be as early as Monday. If this committee approves entering into the contract, we can do that expeditiously, and they're prepared to get things kicked off next week. As you know, we do have some materials already prepared, which can just be updated slightly, so that will also allow them to get started sooner. So they're prepared to get started as quickly as next week with the initial prep work. They are proposing, based on the timeline, the end of week 7 potentially for proposing to the committee. A potential short list of finalists would be approximately April 2nd. And after that, the further timing in the proposal really does depend on the schedule and format of interviews that the board will choose to use. If it's just one round, it can go quickly, etc. But they propose to to have finalists ready for the board's consideration by approximately April 2nd.
April 2nd. Okay, thank you very much on that. I think my second question is, in looking through their proposal, I did note that some of the places that they will websites, other venues that they'll be outreaching to in order to try to get as diverse a pool of candidates as possible. We don't need to do anything relative to additional suggestions on additional places to do such advertising or such outreach. That doesn't require us to make any addendums to the contract, does it, or the proposal, does it?
No. The proposal states, I mean, it is stated in there, they've put a few suggested places. They of course have, a long list of resources, and in working with you to develop, the further candidate profile and other discussions, they will suggest other places. They will certainly take suggestions from you from other places, but that will not require any changes to the contract. That's included as part of the process.
Very good. Mr. Chair, with that, that's the extent of my questions at this time.
Okay. Steve, I guess the question or comment that I have is, it appears that the firm has tried pretty mightily to balance sort of the board's stated desire to move with some immediacy, for lack of a better word, along with the practical realities of what it takes to conduct an effective search, to mine their contacts, to take direction from Arnie and myself, to recruit out in the open universe. Are we satisfied that the timeline that they've given us is sort of as condensed as it can be?
It is as condensed as it can be without, potentially sacrificing the efficacy of the process, which of course they're not willing to do. They have a thoughtful process that they go through. They've determined that by doing many things, as stated in the letter introducing their proposal, by doing some of the work in parallel on a rolling basis that normally would be done serially, they feel like they can cut a few weeks out of the standard process. So they're very comfortable with this process, with this timeline, and they feel that in this particular timeline that they can do an effective search. Anything shorter would be potentially just more difficult to pull off. And again, once they propose candidates, the timing after that really is dependent on how many candidates there are, how many rounds of interviews we'll potentially want to schedule. So they're standing by the schedule that is posted in this proposal, certainly subject to further discussions as the process moves along. Okay,
great, thank you. I guess just another observation on my part is, in my sort of day job, I think you both know that I work with a lot of public agencies, and so Bob Murray Associates is a known quantity in this field for public agencies, so I'm comfortable with their bona fides and their hopefully their access to qualified pools of candidates, and so I'm encouraged by that. But I will also say, just as we kick this thing off, and I noted earlier, there's an open session item for Arnie and myself to make a decision about the proposal, and then we will go into closed session where, quite frankly, most of our work will have to be conducted because of the nature of this task at hand, right? It's a high-level recruitment for an executive position, and for the benefit of our prospective candidates, and I think for our benefit as well, on behalf of the board, that there's a high level of confidentiality that attaches to most of this process, and so we certainly appreciate the public's understanding and respect of that fact. I don't have anything else to ask or to add. It looks like we do need a motion on the retention of Bob Murray. So, Mr. Sowell, would you be so kind?
I'm not exactly sure how the motion has to be formatted, but I will just recommend that we move forward. Make a motion that we recommend that we move forward with Bob Murray and Associates to assist us in conducting our executive director search.
And if I could just add a friendly suggestion, consistent with the terms described in their proposal, so that we're all clear that that's the scope of what they'll be doing for us.
Absolutely.
Okay, and on that, I'll second it. If you could call the roll for a vote, Mr. Mason.
Okay, Duran,
Yes.
Sol,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, our next item of business then is to move into the closed session that I just discussed. The authority for that movement is in Government Code Section 11126, subsection A1. And then at this point, we'll disconnect from the public portion of the webinar, proceed into closed session. Steve, I'm sorry, remind me, will we come back out into open session or will we adjourn from closed?
I believe we will adjourn from closed.
Great.
Can I
Okay.
just ask, is there a separate link that I should have that's been sent to me? I just want to make sure the last time. I was-
There is in your, yes, in the calendar invitation further down, there is the separate Zoom link for the closed session.
All right, I'll have to find that, Steve. Bear with me, Steve.
I will, as soon as we hang up, I will be happy to mail it to you.
Okay, all right, thanks a lot. All right,
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Mason. Talk to you in a bit, Arn.
okay.
Mhm.
Thanks.